In any factory, there are these hidden forces just quietly eating away at your productivity. They're not always obvious, but trust me, they can be the difference between making a profit and, well, not. We're going to uncover these culprits, they're called the 6 big equipment losses, and talk about exactly how to stop them in their tracks. So let me ask you something. You probably think your production line is running pretty smoothly, right? Maybe you're even hitting a big target, like 90% availability. But is that number really telling you the whole story? Are you actually getting 90% of what your equipment is capable of? The truth, as you'll see, is often way more complicated. In fact, for a line that's reporting 87% availability, a much more realistic effectiveness score could be as low as 42.6%. Yeah, shocking, isn't it? And this isn't just some random number I pulled out of a hat. It represents the massive hidden potential that most operations are losing every single day. We're about to break down exactly how you end up with a number like that. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll pull back the curtain on what I call the efficiency illusion. Then you'll meet the villains of our story, the 6 big losses. After that, I'll show you how to calculate your real score. From there, we'll map out 5 steps to get to 0 breakdowns. And finally, we'll pinpoint the very first move you can make to start this journey. So let's start with that illusion. A lot of companies measure how well their equipment is doing with just one metric: availability. That's basically just the time the machine is running compared to the time it was supposed to run. But here's the problem. Focusing only on uptime completely ignores a whole world of other ways you're losing productivity. It gives you this false sense of security while efficiency is just draining away behind the scenes. And this shows you what's possible when you look beyond just availability. I mean, can you imagine going from 700 breakdowns a month down to 0? Aishin Seiki actually did this. They transformed their plant into what they called a parlor factory because it was so spotless, proving that this idea of near-perfect efficiency, it isn't some fantasy, it's a real attainable goal. Okay, so how do we start moving toward a goal like that? Well, the very first step is to identify the enemy. So let's meet the 6 hidden culprits that are secretly sabotaging your equipment's effectiveness. These are the real, measurable reasons why that 90% availability number can be so misleading. These 6 big losses are really the key obstacles standing between you and peak performance. And to make it easier, they're grouped into 3 main categories that we're going to break down right now: downtime, speed losses, and defects. First up, we've got downtime. This is the most obvious one, right? It includes those classic, unexpected equipment failures, the breakdowns that just bring everything to a grinding halt. But it also includes the planned downtime for stuff like setups and adjustments, changing out a die or a tool. Anytime your equipment isn't making parts, that's a downtime loss. Next, we have speed losses. Now, these are much sneakier. This category covers things like idling and minor stoppages. Those little pauses, maybe for just a few seconds when a sensor trips or a part gets jammed, they happen so fast they often don't even get logged. And it also includes reduced speed, which is the difference between how fast a machine could be running and how fast you're actually running it. And our final category is all about defects. These losses hit you right in your quality and your bottom line. You've got process defects, that's your scrap and any parts that have to be reworked. Then there's reduced yield, which is all the waste that happens during startup, before the process stabilizes and you start making good parts. It's all just waste. So now that we've met the 6 losses, how do we actually measure their combined impact? We obviously need something better than just availability. So let's calculate our real score, and we're going to do it with a super powerful tool called Overall Equipment Effectiveness, or just OEE. OEE gives you the through, unvarnished picture by multiplying 3 key things together: availability, which takes care of all your downtime; performance efficiency, which covers your speed losses; and the rate of quality, which handles the defects. It's a simple formula, but it brilliantly captures the impact of all 6 big losses. Let's walk through that example from the beginning. We start with availability. So after we account for all the breakdowns and the setup times, our machine is available 87% of the time. Now, on its own, that sounds pretty darn good, right? Most managers would probably be pretty happy with that number. But then we factor in performance efficiency. This is where those sneaky speed losses come back to bite you. When we account for all the minor stoppages and the fact that the machine is running slower than it was designed to, we find out it's only performing at 50% of its potential, even when it is running. Suddenly, the picture doesn't look so rosy anymore. And finally, we look at our rate of quality. After we account for all the scrap and the startup defects, we find that 98% of the parts we're making are actually good. Again, this seems like a really high number. So we have two high numbers and one pretty low one. How does it all shake out?
Well, we just multiply them all together. 87% availability times 50% performance times 98% quality equals what? What is the real effectiveness of this machine?
And there you have it. The real score is a shocking 42.6%. Think about that. Over half of the machine's total potential is just gone. It's lost to the combined compounding impact of those six big losses. This is exactly why OEE is so critical. It tells you the truth that simpler metrics try to hide. Okay, so we've identified the problem, and we've measured just how big it is. Now, how in the world do we fight back? The strategy for this is called Total Productive Maintenance, or TPM. This is our counterattack plan to systematically hunt down and eliminate these losses and start moving toward that incredible goal of zero breakdowns. Honestly, the best way to understand the philosophy behind TPM is to think of it like preventative medicine, but for your equipment. I mean, think about it. For ourselves, we practice daily prevention, basic hygiene, and we get periodic checkups for early detection. It's the exact same for our equipment. Daily maintenance, like cleaning and lubricating, that's our hygiene. And periodic inspections, those are our checkups. So TPM gives us 5 really concrete countermeasures to get to zero breakdowns. It starts with the absolute basics, keeping equipment clean, lubricated, and properly bolted. It means actually sticking to the proper operating procedures and actively fixing any deterioration you find. And then, on a higher level, it means improving weaknesses in the machine's design and constantly upgrading the skills of everyone involved. So where do you begin with all this? What's the single most powerful first move you can make? Well, it lies in completely rethinking the role of the people who know the equipment best, the operators themselves. This right here is the heart of the TPM revolution. You know the traditional mindset, right? It's, I operate, you fix. The operator runs the machine, and when it breaks, the maintenance team comes to repair it. TPM totally flips this idea on its head. The source material is clear. Autonomous maintenance by operators is a unique feature of TPM. Giving operators the power and responsibility to care for their own equipment is the central pillar of this entire system. And that brings us to your very first actionable step. And it's surprisingly simple: initial cleaning. Now, this isn't just about making things look shiny. It's about teaching operators a new mindset, that cleaning is inspection. Think about it. When you're thoroughly cleaning a machine, you can't help but notice the loose bolts, the small leaks, or the weird vibrations, all those little early warning signs of trouble. And that really brings us to the final takeaway. You now have the tools to see your factory not just for what it's producing, but for all of its hidden potential. The next time you walk out on that floor, I guarantee you'll see the 6 big losses everywhere. So I'll just leave you with this question. Armed with this new way of seeing things, what's the first hidden defect you're going to look for tomorrow?